Welcome back. So today we have a bit calmer of a project. We are fixing up an axe head. The eye looking fine. The back I could probably shave that off and make it into a hammer end. That seems to be where the problem is. Got it. So some history behind this axe. I fixed it up for some friends, and they graciously lent it to a neighbor who wanted to take out a stump in their yard. They didn't realize that this stump, or post maybe, had a nail in it. They didn't realize it that many times. As many times as you see it on the axe head. So, in the grand scheme of things, it's not that big a deal. I fixed it once. I'll fix it again. And since this was probably 4 to 6 years ago, I know a little bit more about axes and how one side of the axe is an axe, and if it's not a double bit axe, it's a hammer. So what I want to do is flatten this side out to be more conducive to being a hammer. And this whole project is done with elbow grease. I have a grinder that I don't particularly want to swing an axe into me at Mach 9. Granted, I don't think it goes 9 times the speed of sound when it is going around in a circle. All right, instead of being ridiculous, this whole thing, it felt safer to do with elbow grease and hand files. It was a relaxing 2-ish hours. I got sweaty in my garage. Don't take that out of context. And I just sat there and did it. I love this little hand file. This little gigantic hand file. It's a magic cut, which is what that pattern is. And for surface finish and aggressiveness, it's really nice. It's really nice. I enjoy it greatly. I got it off the internet because they don't just sell them in stores. They should sell them in stores. They're fantastic. But you see, it's making quick work. There's a lot more axe on the table clamp than there is on the axe now. I am going to clean that surface up. Nothing is getting polished. Nothing is going to be taken to a mirror finish. That is not my preferred style. I do respect it because it is a lot of work. And I don't care what you do with your axe. Your axe is yours, and I may have opinions, but my opinions don't mean jack because that's your stuff. And usually opinions like that, strong opinions about how to restore axes or tools, I get it. There's history with these things. Sometimes the history makes the object useless, and if you remove some of the history, you have another object that comes out on the other side that just becomes not new, but it becomes useful for another full lifespan of that chunk of metal, wood, what have you. I do find that very interesting. I also, I don't know if there are schools of thought. I don't really go on Reddit. I don't go onto forums and talk about tools because things get heated. But between TizzyTube and Hand Tool Rescue, I am completely out of the spectrum of both of them, but I would lean closer to Hand Tool Rescue. TizzyTube, mirror shines, restored surfaces, the whole 9 yards, makes an old object brand new. It's so cool. It is so much work. And then Hand Tool Rescue does the exact same amount of work, if not more, recreating parts and all this other stuff. I just want to hit something with a hand file, make it useful again. I think that's fair. So, now that we're at the business end, you have to realize that if for some reason this is the first axe fixing video you've ever seen, I doubt it. You have the edge of the axe is generally softer than most hand files. So you can fix an axe head with a hand file. You can take out chips, all that. You're not going to do the finished sharpening with a hand file, but it really is just a matter of patience and elbow grease. There's no magic formula. I did fix the geometry I originally put on the axe to be a little less obtuse, a little better for chopping. It still does both. I have tested it since, and my wonderful friends immediately commented, "Hey, Adrian, have you ever swung an axe before in your life?" And I was like, "Not horizontally." So the answer is no, I hadn't. But they showed me, and the edge, I feel like the edge was doing its job. I wasn't doing my job because it's hard, and I respect anybody who has swung axes for a long, long time, for money or for fun. Anyway, this is maybe 30-ish minutes worth of hand filing on the edge. I'm taking down all the nicks. I'm taking down all the chips. I think the only one that I miss is at that very tip, and you can see it there. But that very tip, I can live with it. I only noticed it after I had finished everything, even though my fingers are looking for the burr on the other side. In the grand scheme of things, it's fine. And I'm also looking at the light pattern while hand filing because I want to see where the hand file is hitting. So the reflections that you see are similar to the ones that I see from my angle, and getting those to be uniform and reach some semblance of flatness / convexness is the goal. And now that I've done most of the rough work with the big hand file, I am switching to a smaller, finer hand file like I did with the back of the axe. And this is just a hand file I got. I got something like 30 or 40 hand files from the flea market in my area for $2 or $3 a pop, and I will never need another hand file again. I will still buy more hand files because I have a problem. Now, most of the rough work is done, if not all of the rough work is done, and this soft-backed little sanding block that I made a long time ago for this purpose is back doing what it's supposed to do. So I go with 80 grit. I go up the grit maybe to 400 at max. I also switch strategies to wrapping it around a hand file, but wrapping sandpaper around a hand file enough that it has sort of a softer edge to it. I'm not trying to get anything flat. I do want convexness to the edge so that it retains its sharpness, even though it's a little softer and it is a decent bit thicker than most of the knife edges that I make. Now, I did all the rough work with sandpaper, and I'm trying to make a burr on the other side of the axe blade with a diamond stone that I'm using like an axe sharpening stone. I mean, don't knock it if it works. I've had these stones for almost as long as I've had this axe, if not a little longer or a little shorter. Oh Lord. Not since I've had the axe, since I fixed the axe. And the things that I've learned about sharpening, however you get there, just get there. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if it's Japanese whetstones. It doesn't matter if it's diamonds. I don't care if it's sandpaper. Sandpaper ends up being way more expensive in the long run. It's great to practice with. But a good diamond stone, a good set of diamond stones, it's kind of hard to beat. This is an extra fine diamond stone. I skipped from extra coarse to extra fine, and I am positive that that's not right, but I spent a little bit of extra time, as you can see at my perfectly normal playback speed, just getting that burr to be on both sides. And I take it off by just scraping it with a piece of wood. If the camera would focus, that's where that burr lives now. I'm just knocking it off. When that burr is gone, I do go back and I use a leather strop with some compound on it. I've had this strop for longer than those diamond stones, and it is fine. I think it needs a little love, but it's perfectly fine. Just like the focus of my camera, completely stable, and there's nothing wrong with it. So, basically done, but after a quick test with flawless form, I think it's an axe. In fact, I have strong evidence that it is in fact an axe. Also, deathly afraid of losing a finger or chopping into a toe. I just got to the point in my foot recovery that I kind of forget that it hurts sometimes. I can still overdo it, but like, I am not in the mood to go back to the hospital and explain to a doctor that I lost a toe because I was hunched over testing out an axe that I made sharp. I'm just not in the mood to do it. Call me crazy. The axe works. It shaves a fingernail. Apologies if this is not something you want to see. I don't blame you. But that edge is perfectly fine to swing at 35 miles an hour into a tree. Also, it did a decent job on my cuticle. Anyway, so I put a Scotch-Brite on the little pad, and I'm just sort of evening out the file strokes. If I understand the idea correctly, and maybe if you like and subscribe, you can tell me if I'm wrong. Nailed it. Perfectly natural. Making something smoother to avoid having more surface area for moisture or rust to settle in seems like why you would have a more polished edge or take something past, say, just a 220 grit finish, because if there's less surface area, there's less area to oxidize, there's less area to rust. That's how I feel. That's how I feel like it's worth the time to clean up like rough tool marks. And also here, again, not mirror polishing anything, but I am using that scouring pad and Windex basically to just clean off dirt, grime, any rust that is sort of accumulated on the surface. I'm not trying to get this thing to be shiny. I'm trying to get it to be... I'm trying to get any active rust off of it, and I think I do that. It looks pretty good. I do regret getting that handle bit dirty. You gonna linger on that bench? Is that okay? There we go. So, long story short, I did make this axe handle. I made this axe handle when I fixed the axe originally. It was the whole reason that it needed to be fixed, quote unquote, was the axe handle had kind of broken off. So I remade it. It's a bit chunky. It has some character, and I'm not trying to remove that character. I am simply trying to get it to be a little bit more comfortable in the hand, and that's my only goal. And seeing as how I'm doing this at a perfectly normal speed without any editing, it went pretty quick. It's fine. So, a little bit of sand down. I'm covered in dust. Sawdust, as it were. And it needs to be oiled again. It's really kind of just an excuse to break out that boiled linseed oil. I don't think there's any other finish for an axe handle. It's a working tool. The boiled linseed oil will get a little darker over time. It's there to protect it from moisture. It's there to make it look good. When it's on, it's finished. And I put it on the whole thing. So I oil the head to further prevent any extra rust from gaining hold. And also, I got to admit, it looks pretty damn good oiled. I really enjoy that finish. So now the axe is ready. It just needs to oil the handle, and she's done. Yeah. There is a mark on the axe that says maybe what it is. I just don't know what it says. And I did absolutely zero research into finding out. I think it's a drop forged axe, so it's certainly mass produced. At least the head. I mean, they're all kind of mass produced these days, but I mean that's fine. A functional tool is a functional tool. If you get a fancy $400 axe from a artisan maker who's just like going ham, like with every single detail, hell yeah, support that person. If you go to Home Depot because you need an axe to slap a tree down, great. I do not care, and I do not judge you. Tools are fun, but tools are tools in the long run. If you're not willing to swing it at something, then it's just a piece of art. Art has its place. This is not a piece of art, but it is lovely. I'm also not entirely sure looking back at it now that that's the right grain structure for an axe handle, but it didn't fail with a couple hundred swings. I'm sure it won't fail with a couple hundred more. But if it does, I'm willing to remake it. I don't want any tool I make to hurt anybody, including knives that look exclusively like they're meant to hurt somebody. Yeah. There was the mark there. If you rewind and pause it like some sort of CSI, you can kind of see it there. Maybe you don't have to pause it, but I can't read it, but it's done. The axe is finished. It went back to its home. Like I said, my friends, obviously knew that I was just faking it when I swung the axe the first time. They're like, "You're gonna kill yourself," and that is not ideal. I rehoned the edge after testing it, and it's just good to go. I'm very pleased with it, and if I ever see it again, I will fix it up again. The only thing it should need from now on is a bit of honing and just a little bit of maintenance. And those neighbors, while they were sorry, I'm sure, are nowhere near them, and they're never going to have their hands on it again. So yeah. Thank you very much for watching. If you enjoy all this stuff, if you like any of this, leave a comment, like, dislike. You get to like whatever you want. You get to dislike whatever you want. If you want more of it, subscribe. I can tell you for a fact that the ADHD of this channel will continue. Some future projects will include stop motion animation rigs that I'm learning how to make, more tools, more knives, molding and casting, creating gun scales or gun grips, if you will, for a friend's gun. I do not own one, but I can't say no to a challenge. So there are many projects left to come. I hope you enjoyed, and I hope you have a nice day. If you make something cool, feel free to show it off. I really just like Maker YouTube. It's very fun. All right, enough gushing. Everybody have a good day, night, whatever. And here's some bonus footage. Any day now? Hello? Ah, yes. The perfect use of this axe. Nailed it. All right, get out of here.